going on, everybody? And welcome back to this week's Productive Agent Podcast. My name is Tony Ruiz. I am the founder and host of the Productive Agent Podcast and Facebook group. Today, I'm joined by my great friend and mentor, Shane Tokheim. Thanks for being here.
Hey, thank you. I'm super excited to be here.
Awesome. Shane works at Doma Title, and he is a former educator. He's John Maxwell certified coach and has helped hundreds of realtors in his time in the real estate industry, 21 years of experience. So Shane, tell us a little bit about you. Give us a little bit of background. Where do you come from? Where were you born, etc.?
Well, I was born in Iowa in a very, very small town quite a few years ago. And my mom actually still lives in the same house that I was born in. Well, not born in, but that I was raised in.
Yeah.
And very small town of 800 people in Iowa. And what a great place to be brought up. I mean, Iowa, if you meet people from Iowa, a lot of them are very friendly and good people. And so I did my whole high school and college. I graduated at Northern Iowa, where Kurt Warner went. That's what I always say.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I actually walked on there to play with him, but didn't get the opportunity.
Did you beat him out as the starting quarterback?
Yeah, no, they're not making a movie about me.
All right.
But then at Northern Iowa, they had a program. I was a teacher, as you mentioned. And so I did my student teaching. And one of the options was to move to San Antonio. And so you could either move abroad, you could stay in Iowa, or move to San Antonio. Those were your three choices. And so I quickly decided I was coming here. And I started advocating with my friends that we should all go. And a lot of us did. And so I came down here with 19 of my closest friends, and we're still friends today. And most of them got jobs in the teaching industry, as I did. And I taught right where I student taught at Sam Rayburn Middle School for 5 years.
What did you teach?
I taught mostly 7th grade math. I taught a little bit of 8th grade PE, and then I coached all the sports, which is why I became an educator to begin with.
Yeah. Very cool. What's your favorite sport to play?
To play basketball, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Are you good?
I used to be pretty good, and then I have a few injuries, but I played football in college, which is why I have so many injuries. But
What position?
I played some quarterback, but mostly wide receiver.
All right. Very cool. So you're a teacher, similar to me. What got you into the real estate business? How'd you fall into it?
Yeah, it's as you talk to most people in title, there's no title school, or you didn't grow up wanting to be in title. After I left teaching, I went into another sales job for a very short time. And it just happens the way the world is, one person at that job knew somebody in title. They called the president of the title company and said, like, hey, this kid might be pretty good at this job. And she called me and very convincingly made me an offer that I couldn't refuse.
Yeah.
And I started, and, I love it. I've loved it ever since. I love day one, and I love every day.
So what do you love about your job?
Yeah, that's a great question. Just being around the people. I mean, like my team now at Doma, they're great people. We have great culture. That's one of the things I work real hard at, is developing culture for everybody's happiness that I work with. But more than that, of course, it's nice to go into the office and be happy with the people you're there with. But obviously, I work with a lot of people outside of our office, and I surround myself with great people. So that's really why I like it.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you do for realtor partners? That's how we met. We'll talk about our story in a second. I know you teach some classes and so on and so forth, and sometimes you meet with individuals outside of that. But what do you do for realtors? Yeah,
that's a good question. There's no real defined role for what I do and what any sales rep or my role does. But what I found and what I advise everybody is to give back, So I try to help agents grow their business, because when you've been around as long as I have, you meet a lot of people that are successful, and then you get good ideas. And so I share the ideas that I have with the agents that I meet with, but I concentrate a lot on how your daily structure is, and just how are you living life? Are you giving? Are you coming from a servant's heart? And I believe those things are the keys to success.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the books that reminds me of is Go Giver. You introduced me to that, and super cool story. If you haven't listened or read that book, I
Yeah.
highly recommend it. But yeah, giving, helping others get what they want, and you get that in return.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's a really cool. So our story, I met Shane back in 2020, I believe. 2019, actually, the end of 2019.
December 19th, 2019.
Yeah, dang, he remembers it. And
I was teaching a class that day.
The funny thing is, you were teaching a class on goal setting, and me and you kind of align on that because we don't necessarily say like this is our goal and this is what we're shooting for. And then you followed up and you were great at the follow up, and I was like, okay, maybe not, and then I just hit a low point. And I mentioned to my wife, I was like, I got to go meet this guy. I got to try something to snap me out of this. And yeah, really, the things that stand out to me when I met you was the daily structure, introducing me to a new mindset. And it really started with books, and the two books that you introduced me to were Ninja Selling. And I always get this backwards. Is it Miracle Morning?
Or the Miracle Morning.
Miracle Morning. And I still practice the Miracle Morning to an extent every day just to kind of get your day started. But, we had this coach at first, became mentorship, became friendship.
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about what does mentorship mean to you?
Yeah. I mean, people will call me their mentor, even, very high producing, very successful people. When really, mentorship is basically what you just described, like a friendship in which we're sharing ideas for success and really just to have a good life. And so, and I've told you this many times, each time we meet, I generally will learn just as much as you, and so mentorship goes both ways. I'm going to blank on it now, but there's an author that says, when somebody says, will you be my mentor? He says, only if you'll be mine. And so that I believe that,
That's good. I like that.
So that's what I think mentorship. It's more of a friendship, but obviously one of us has more experience in life because I'm older, and so it comes off that maybe I have more ideas because I've been around longer. So I mean,
Yeah. Speaking of, there's a really cool moment recently where we were at gyms again, and you were dealing with some personal stuff that we've both dealt with, and you were like taking notes, and I was like, oh crap, look at this.
Yeah.
The student teaching the coach and mentor. So that was really cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, obviously it's grown into a friendship way deeper than just a coach mentorship type of thing. So thanks for sharing that. Who are some of your mentors?
You know me well, and you already know what I'm going to say. Unfortunately, in title, there's no like training. But I've had there's a guy named Romy Jackson who has been around for a long time. And I really learned a lot from him, and he probably doesn't even know it, even though I have told him. So, I think you should always tell people when you think of them. And he taught me a few things just on, he's one of the most charismatic people, and he's a good teacher. And also he's very knowledgeable in the title industry. So him, and then there's a guy named Edward DeWeese who I don't know that I've ever shared with him. I have shared with some of our mutual friends that he showed me how to kind of interact with people in such a good way. He's very charismatic also, and he's really good storyteller. So is Romy, and I like that. And so I learned a lot by watching both of them, tell their stories. Yeah. And even though they weren't meeting with me to tell me how to do stuff, I just learned by watching them. So I consider them my mentors, but my standard answer is like John Maxwell, Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone, because I listen to a lot of what they write and their posts and their videos. And so I feel like I learned a lot from them, even though, I'm not exactly like any of them. I'm just a mixture of all of those people put together. I try to take the good of everything and put it together.
No, that's great. And what makes me think about what you just said was those two people that you have never mentioned those people to me.
Oh, really?
But you did. These are all skills that you learn, and a lot of this is natural. Like I think you're a naturally outgoing person and friendly and kind and supportive. but you also learn those skills and pick up from others around you and who you surround yourself with.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's funny that you say it's natural. It's not natural. I have to work at it too. You know, Edward was very natural. I don't know about Romy, but you know, when I grew up, and even when I talked to my mother, even today, she'd be like, I can't believe you are the way you are, because I was so shy. And I was even shy when I started this job to some extent.
Sure.
I would never get in front of a group and teach, that's for sure, even though I was a teacher.
Yeah.
But I had to learn the hard way because I knew it was one of the keys to success.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you work with a lot of agents, 21 years of experience. You've seen, you know, from new agents all the way to highly successful agents. What is the most common problems that most agents face in their business? You could give us a list.
Yeah. There's so many, but really, you know, you've been in my group meetings.
Yeah.
I always say class, but it's really just a group meeting. You know, and you know, people will say this is their problem, that's their problem, everything's their problem. But really what it comes down to, I think, is mindset and time management. I mean, that's really the two things. And, you know, persistence and consistency, but that's part of it, you know? So I think those are the two biggest things.
So how do you get a better mindset?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, surrounding yourself by people that are in the good mindset, coming to my, you know, group meetings.
Plug it.
Yeah. And I think reading, I mean, you know, I read and listen to 52 books is my goal a year. And I, you know, some of them I listen to over and over and over. And some of the people that I already mentioned, the authors, you know, I listen to those. And just like I tell you, and, you know, even on the way here, so one of my agents called me and just had a really bad experience. And she's like very disappointed and almost angry. Yeah. And I just said, and I know she's calling me because I always say, just when you're in a bad mood, just call me.
Yeah.
And I guarantee she hung up like, yeah, that's right. And then, you know, it's just all better. And so that's just an example of surround yourself with positive mindset people.
Yeah, for sure. So, if an agent came to you and said, hey, Shane, I'm stuck, or maybe I'm brand new, I don't know how to get this thing off the ground, or I'm struggling getting to the next level, what is like 3 things that you would go, okay, step 1, you got to do this. Step 2, you got to do this. Step 3, you got to do this.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I think step 1 is your daily structure. And you know, the first question I'm going to ask you, what time did you get up today? You know, I ask that to everybody. Yeah. What time did you, I went around the room today in our group and asked everybody what, in the last 2 days I've done that. And it's interesting. And some of the people that I know or have known me for a long time, they're not saying 5 a.m. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah. So anyway, I think getting up early, even if it's, you know, if you're used to getting up at 8, then try getting up at 7 and take that hour to get structured. Yeah. So, you know, your daily structured, but then organize your day and plan your day. So you know what you're going to do the next day. So your chances of success increases. If you write it down, I sent this to you, I'm sure on Friday, I sent it to everybody. Yeah. If you write your daily goals down, you're 50% more likely to achieve them. If you share that with a friend, you're 80% more likely to achieve them. So you should do those 2 things. Yeah. You know, so get up earlier, plan your day.
Right.
And then I think manage your database. If you don't have a good even if you have 3,000 people in your database, I can guarantee those 3,000 people aren't all connected to you. Sure. So I would say start over. If you're stuck, especially, start over. Take that whole database and start retyping it in a different form, in an Excel spreadsheet, a Google Sheet, your CRM if you want to. But go through and then connect with as many people as you can and get unstuck.
Yeah, I like that. Great advice there. So I have some fun questions as we get ready to wrap up this interview.
Wow, we're almost done.
Yeah, we're going to, you know, I mean, is there anything else you'd like to cover?
No, I'm good.
We could go on. This guy could go on for hours and hours. But some fun questions that are off the topic of real estate and mentorship. The best book, and I know you read a lot of books, if you had to name a book, what's the best book you've ever read?
Well, I always say it depends on where you're at in your life. If your life is not where you want it to be, then I'd say The Miracle Morning, because it's all about changing your habits. Obviously, morning habits more than anything, but really your whole life. So that one, I really honestly, I've probably given that book to, I don't even know, maybe 1,000 people.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many of them, if they read it, come back to the next meeting saying like, wow, I mean, I've really started something here and it's really good. So the Miracle Morning is definitely number one. If you're just talking about your real estate business, Ninja Selling, also I've given that book to, I don't know how many people either, but a lot. So Miracle Morning and Ninja Selling, I'd say they're pretty equal, depending on what your needs are. And then you mentioned The Go-Giver. I love that book. The Slide Edge, I love that one. But if you're just, Tony Robbins' book, Unleash the Power Within, very good. I've listened to that a lot. But if I had to pick one, I don't think I could. I mean, those 5 or whatever I just mentioned, they're all extremely good. But when I write my book, of course, that'll be number one, but that's yet to come.
Well, let's get on it.
I know. I really
can't
need
wait to see that one. Yeah. Do you prefer listening or reading?
I prefer reading. But the just time constraints, but I'll tell everybody, I told everybody in the last 3 days or 2 days in 3 groups, do you schedule time to read? And almost nobody does. Well, I do. I have 2 appointments at least every day, and I always go 30 minutes early. So that's my scheduled time to read. Yeah. So I prefer to read a book if I can, which I do. Yeah. But listening is good too. It just depends really on the book and the content and the narrator.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a big difference for sure. So a fun question. We like to play golf, and it's been a few weeks since we've played, so we got to get out there soon. But favorite golf course of all time that you've played?
You would think, being the avid golfer that I am, I've played some fancy courses, but I don't leave town, or I stay in my bubble. I like to work. I don't even go on vacation. I love BRAC, as you know. I've shot my lowest scores there. I got a hole-in-one there.
What is your lowest score?
73 with a hole-in-one that day.
Wow. At BRAC?
At BRAC, yeah. But
old BRAC or new BRAC?
Wait, 72, because par's 71.
That's right.
Yeah, so 72. But old BRAC, yeah.
Old BRAC?
Yeah.
Before they remodeled and
No. Since then, that was 4 years ago that I got that.
Okay, so it's the new BRAC.
Yeah, I love BRAC, but I like all the munis. Yeah. I don't like Cedar, but your course is too hard. I like to play easy. I like to have fun and play the easy courses. So I like the munis.
Yeah, for sure. That's a lot of fun. Best piece of advice you've ever been given, and who gave it to you?
Oof.
You're going to upset somebody. So.
I know. Man. I hate, in my realization of not reaching my own potential, I started meeting with a lot of people, as I don't know if I've told you, but I met with like Phyllis Browning, which is amazing.
When was this? Is this recently?
It was about 5 years ago.
Okay.
Deanne Harper, I saw her yesterday too. Yeah. She's amazing. I love her. She was at Jim's, gave me a hug, like literally gave me goosebumps. And I just love her. But we haven't like sat down where she could give me advice. So she didn't really give me advice. Well, she did tell me to vote. So let's see, where am I going with this? The best piece of, so I did meet with somebody that told me that his goal was read 52 books. And so I think that might be the best piece of advice I've ever gotten. Yeah. And so I adopted that goal, obviously. And I do try to read 52 books. So, and from that, Tomas Martinez, I'd be failing if I didn't mention his name. He gave me the first book that really got me started. It's called Living Intentional by John Maxwell. So that might be my favorite book of all time. Because and I don't give that one out as much as I should. I immediately, this, how I am. When I read it, I bought 20 copies and I just started sending it to, my nieces and nephews, some of them, not all of them, but, and gave it to people on my staff, and I, people that I knew needed to hear it. And along with it, I gave them a journal, because in that book, they in the first chapter or so, it says to stop reading, get out a piece of paper or a journal, and write down what you want people to say about you at your funeral. And those thoughts can be life-changing. And it was for me, and not that I was a bad person.
Yeah.
I just started thinking like, yeah, what would people say about me at my funeral? And, at that time in my life, you haven't known me that long, but I used to, party a lot, and I used to be a lot of fun. And not that I'm not now, but it was different. It was different fun. And so I really changed my life. Of course, I had a baby, but that changed my life more than anything. But I think the reading 52 books was probably the best piece of advice I've ever got.
When you think about that, that encourages you to read that and think about all the knowledge you gain from doing that.
For sure.
For that one activity.
Yeah.
I've gotten away from reading, and there's a time that I was real consistent with it, but structure, going back to it, sometimes gets knocked off sometimes.
For sure.
And so many times when I pick up a book, I'm just like, oh, that was such a good read. That 15, 20 minutes, I try to shoot for 30 minutes. So the funny thing that everybody knows about you is you go to like the same 4 or 5 restaurants all the time.
Yeah.
So out of those same restaurants, which one is your favorite?
Oh,
out of just those ones that you frequent?
Yeah. Well, I go to Jim's every day for breakfast. I do like Aldino's because it's close. Everything that I go is close, but I have to say Papados is my favorite for the dish that we get when we go there. But
we don't know what it's called.
Yeah, we don't even know what it's called. But
what is it? The red fish with
blackened red fish with dirty rice and Alexander sauce. If you haven't had it, oh man, you need to try it. It's delicious. So I'll say Papados. I do like Dough, the pizza place, but I don't go there very often. But
I was going to say, like, outside of those, if you were going on a special night or whatever,
Dough would probably
is a
be
good
it.
one. Okay.
If I go to Las Vegas, we eat it. I think it's called Noodle. I love that place too. Yeah. I'm very structured. I go
to the same place.
I same the place. I know what I'm going to have before I get there. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. They know, the waiters know what I'm going to have before I get there.
Yeah. Well, man, that's it. This is a lot of fun. I appreciate you joining. How can listeners get a hold of you if they want a book? This guy loves giving out books. But how can they get a hold of you?
The easiest way is to text me. You can call me, but in today's world, texting. So my number is 210-760-3837. And just feel free to text me.
Awesome. Well, cool, guys. Thanks for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, you know what to do. Leave us a review, give us a rating. That really helps us grow the show and impact others like you. And join our private Facebook group called The Productive Agent. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Go share the show with a friend. We thank you for joining us today. And now let's get out there and go produce.